It is Monday morning, July 16th, 2018. This is the Hardy Complex, the one place where you can hear everything and anything you don't want to hear, you don't want to see. Let's get into our first subject of the day, if you want to say it. I've had a big side in terms of professional sports for the past 10 years. I've always loved one sport more than any other sport. Um, So I am biased, I will admit, before I even start the topic, in what my decision is, or what my choice is. Um, but I have reason for it. I've heard a lot of people, in terms of my friend group, um, talk about how they see the NBA as the best league in the U.S. And that is laughable. um, no league is without its flaws. The NHL suffers greatly from commissioner and manager antics, as does the NFL, as well as its controversies, the NBA and its lack of parity and extremely one sided affairs, and the MLB in just overall demand, um, and especially attendance. There's one big topic of debate in today, and that is what is more popular, the NFL or the NBA? And for starters, we can look on the surface. The Super Bowl is much more popular than the NBA Finals. There's no topping that. You put on the Super Bowl, that one game probably has a better overall impact on the sport it's attributed to than the entirety of the NBA or the NBA's finals in terms of the NBA. I laugh whenever I hear somebody say that the NBA is better than the NFL, and I'll tell you why. The NFL, in my opinion, is better than the NBA, mostly in terms of actual play. And for good reason. Let's look at the regular season. The NFL, you've got 16 games in the regular season. The NBA, you've got 82. The NFL's regular season being so short in terms of games played once a week, or at least in the majority of teams. Well, let's be honest. Every game in the NFL season matters. You lose 3 games at the beginning of the season, you go 0-3. The chances are very high of you completely missing the playoffs. In the NBA, you lose the first 10 games of the season. Let's just say you throw the first 10 games of the season. There's a chance you miss the playoffs, but there's a big chance you actually still come back and make the playoffs. So not every single game in the season matters. And, in the NFL, you can make the argument, of course, one loss doesn't necessarily mean everything goes downhill from here. I mean, again, the 2004 Vikings would tell you differently. The 2016 Minnesota Vikings would tell you differently. But I digress. With the NFL in the regular season, again, every game matters. There's not one point in time in the season in which you go, oh, well, they lost this game. There's no fucking way that anything goes wrong from here. They can bounce back. They still have all these games left. No. You lose 3 or 4 games in the middle of the regular season, and your momentum is so far gone, you might as well consider it Miracle Surfer's left arm. There is no getting it back. There is no making a copy of the momentum you had before. It's all downhill from here. It takes real poise and real passion for the effort of winning in order to gain momentum back, in order to continue going forward in your season. In the NBA, that's not really the case. You lose momentum for 4 or 5 games. You can then go back on a switch after a 3 or 4 day rest period, and you've got the rest of the season to look forward to. The NBA season, regular season, is a clutter. It's difficult to follow around, especially as an outsider. Whereas in the NFL, it's very easy to follow along if you're an outsider. Every game is played on Sunday, except there's one game played on Thursday and Monday. And usually the Thursday game is the first game of the week. All the other games take place on Sunday, and then the last game of the week takes place on Monday. It's simple as that. There's no game on Friday, no game on Saturday, no game on Tuesday, no game on Wednesday. You have 3 days of football within the week, and most of the time, 1 day of the week is the only time your team plays. Especially if you're a Browns fan. You're not getting primetime time. So, I mean, there's that for you right there with the NBA's regular season. I mean, your team can play on this day, your team can play on that day. I mean, there are 3 games on this day, there are 4 games on that day, there are 2 on this day, there are 7 on this day, there are none on this day. It's extremely difficult to follow along, especially if you're a fan of or of just watching the league. You never really know who's playing when unless you extremely closely follow the teams in the league. Let's move on to the postseason. And the postseason, the NBA loses by miles. With the NFL regular season, yes, the Patriots, the Steelers, the Packers, the Colts for a long time, the Denver Broncos for a long time, but they were always shoo-ins to make the playoffs, always shoo-ins to get high seeds. But that never meant that they were automatically going to the finals, or the finals of their championship tournament. With the NFL, it's win or lose, win or go home. If you lose, even if you're the best team, you're out of here. The Packers went 15-1 a couple of years ago. I believe it was 2011. They went their first game of the playoffs. They had a bye week for the first week of the playoffs. Second week of the playoffs, they lost to a wild card team. They went 15-1. They lost 1 game. There were no best of 7 series to come back to go to the finals. They were out. They lost. They didn't show up to play, so they were gone. In the NFL, if you do not bring your A game in the postseason, you are gone. If you do not put forth your best effort in the postseason, you're gone. There's no repeats. There's no chances. There's no second chances. You're gone. Adios. Vamos. You're done. In the NBA, the playoffs are built so that way the best team, or at least the team that was the higher seed, is made to go to the finals. That's the reason why the Warriors and the Cavaliers are always in the finals. Unless something unforeseen happens in the postseason, the best team is always moving on. The best team, in air quotes. The Pacers almost knocked out the Cavaliers in a 4 versus 5 seed matchup in the first round of the NBA playoffs this year. Didn't happen, but it came close. You got to 7 games. It almost pulled off a shocker, but it didn't happen. Sure, Tom Brady makes the playoffs every year. Sure, Ben Roethlisberger almost always makes the playoffs. Sure, teams in the NFC like the Giants or the Packers or even the Vikings are almost always shoo-ins to make the playoffs, but they're never shoo-ins to make the championship game. Let's look back at the last 8 years. You know what, let's just look. I think it's fair enough to say that the AFC in the NFL and the Eastern Conference in the NBA are looked at as the redheaded stepchild conferences of the leagues. The NFC and the NFL and the Western Conference and the NBA are looked at as the more dominant leagues. So let's pair the least dominant conferences in both leagues and see who their representative in the championship game was. 2018 for the NBA. The Eastern Conference representatives were the Cavaliers, led by a guy named LeBron James. Before that, the Cavaliers, led by a guy named LeBron James. Before that, the Cleveland Cavaliers, led by a guy named LeBron James. The year before that, Cleveland Cavaliers, led by a guy named LeBron James. Oh, but the year before that, a team named the Miami Heat, led by LeBron James. Before that, the Miami Heat, led by LeBron James. Before that, the Miami Heat, led by LeBron James. Before that, the Miami Heat, led by LeBron James. Before that, the Boston Celtics, led by Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce. You see a fucking pattern here? Let's just look back at the past 8 years in the NFL. I'm sure it's probably the same. It's like Tom Brady, right? All right, last year, New England Patriots, led by Tom Brady. The year before that, New England Patriots, led by Tom Brady. Oh, the Denver Broncos, led by Peyton Manning. The year before that, New England Patriots, led by Tom Brady. The year before that, Denver Broncos, led by Peyton Manning. The year before that, Baltimore Ravens, led by Joe Flacco. Okay, let's see. The year before that, which was Super Bowl 46, I believe. Let me jog my memory again. New England Patriots, Tom Brady. Year before that, Pittsburgh Steelers, Ben Roethlisberger. Year before that, Indianapolis Colts, led by Peyton Manning. Year before that, Pittsburgh Steelers, led by by Ben Roethlisberger. Year before that, New England Patriots, led by Tom Brady. I mean, there's a pattern there, yes. But Tom Brady is not making the finals every year. Peyton Manning is not making the finals every year. Ben Roethlisberger does not make the finals every year. There's at least competition in the worst league or the worst conference in the NFL. Are you seeing what I'm getting at? And then on top of that, with the NBA's playoff structure, let's be honest. There's a reason why the March Madness bracket is looked forward to way more, and it's way more exciting than the NBA's tournament or the NBA's playoff structure. I mean, UMBC pulled off a miracle upset in this year's March Madness tournament. 16 seed beats a 1 seed. Do you think UMBC beats that 1 seed 3 more times and still moves on to the second round? Do you think Loyola Chicago still wins 4 games in the first round and moves on to what would eventually become a Final Four berth? I think not. But of course, the Golden State Warriors, if they were to lose to, let's just say it was the Denver Nuggets in the first game, I mean, that's no big deal. They're down 1 game. All they have to do is win 4 more. They can absolutely do that, and they absolutely do, because that's how the playoff structure is meant. Let's look at off-season moves. The salary cap in the NFL is designed in a similar kind of way to the NBA, except for the fact that with the NFL, there's a reason to have that structure, because there are many more positions on the field of play or on the court of play in this league, the NFL, than there are in the NBA. The NBA, you need 5 guys to start a game. The NFL, you need 11 guys to start a game. And most times, you need many backups in order to fill out that rest of the roster just in case those guys get hurt, which, let's be honest, men are running into men, beating the shit out of them and forcing them to kill themselves 20 years later because of the damage to their brain. Obviously, there's going to be a couple of injuries throughout the league or in this season. The NFL, it's warranted. You can't have all of this luxury cap space in order to sign the best quarterback and the best receiver and the best halfback you possibly can. There have been dream teams before, but very few have ever gotten it done. Greatest show on turf with the St. Louis Rams, Kurt Warner, Marshall Faulk. They won 1 Super Bowl. Primetime Philadelphia Eagles. Donovan McNabb, Terrell Owens, Brian Westbrook. Never won a Super Bowl. Legion of Boom, Seattle Seahawks, Richard Sherman, Cam Chancellor, Jeremy Lane, all in the backfield. Russell Wilson at quarterback. Marshawn Lynch at halfback. Terrific receiving core. Terrible offensive line. 1 Super Bowl. Falls apart because of 1 play. Let's just look at the NBA's dream team scenarios. Miami Heat's Big 3, LeBron James, Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade. 2 championships. But 4 finals appearances. Okay. I digress. Let's just look at the Golden State Warriors, right? Kevin Durant, Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green. I mean, I'm not going to complain about that dream team because they only signed 1 player. The other guys they drafted, they did it right. 3 championships in 4 years. 4 final appearances in a row. 2-peat. And only lost 1 finals because everybody on the other team was healthy and they couldn't close out the deal. Granted, you can talk about a choke job and all you want, but I don't really recall a dream team in the NBA that didn't have a lot of success. I mean, the Rams won Super Bowl appearance, but I believe that was it. The Eagles won Super Bowl appearance, never won a title. Legion of Boom, 1 Super Bowl, well, 2 Super Bowl appearances, 1 championship. The other, 1 bad play cost them. There's a reason Bill Belichick and the Patriots are looked at so despised, and it's because they know how to work the cap. Because it's difficult to work the cap, but they've been able to do it. The NBA, it's not difficult to work the cap. Let's look at let's just look at bottom of the barrel in both leagues. In the NBA, you lose every game of the season, you got a top draft pick. But there's no authority figure telling you, actually make an effort. You shouldn't be tanking. That's not how the sport works. As a matter of fact, they had a slogan. The entire team launched a slogan essentially saying out in public, yeah, we're purposefully losing so that way we can be successful in the future. David Stern never let that happen. I tell you what, Adam Silver's letting that happen, because Adam Silver's a pushover for one, but at the same time, I mean, how do you describe it in this case? It's a league in which the bottom of the barrel teams wish to be the bottom of the barrel teams. They don't even make a goddamn effort. The San Francisco 49ers in the NFL last year, and I'll only bring them up because not many people paid attention to the end of their season last year, other than the fact that they were the hottest team in football. But I'll use them as an example because I watched all of their games. I am a fantastic fan of their team, but at the same time, I watched every game last season, but I watched every game at the end of their season last season. They started out the season, before that 5-win streak, they went 1-10. Brian Hoyer, who started out the year at quarterback, was traded before the middle of the season, or I believe right after the middle of the season, my apologies, for a backup from the New England Patriots. Well, he wasn't really traded. He was released because of a stipulation on that trade. He started out the season as a starter, lost his job midseason to a rookie who won one game with the team. That backup from New England comes in, Jimmy Garoppolo, wins 5 games in a row for the team. 1-10, very well could have had a big push for the first draft pick if we didn't know the Browns were going to go 0-16, but major push for a top pick. Could have picked up Saquon Barkley, could have picked up Nick Chubb, could have picked up anybody to strengthen the defense. They chose, no, we're going to go out and prove to our fans next season is going to be a much better season than this one. We don't need to throw our season because we want a better future. They passed on the opportunity to get Nick Chubb or Saquon Barkley in favor of actually playing football. Actually playing the sport they were paid to play. What a shocker! I don't see many NBA teams actually doing that. I mean, granted, I'm big in favor of the fact that the teams that finished off the best team to not make the playoffs should get the first pick. Makes people more inclined to fight for that first round pick. And I guarantee you there's going to be a goddamn league in some sport that's going to implement that and have it go well. Neither league does that, but you just see the effort in terms of sports. In the NBA, they're downright saying, yeah, we're going to fuck this season. We're going to lose every game we possibly can so that we can get the best draft pick. We can get the best opportunities to succeed in the future. In the NFL, fuck the idea of succeeding for the future. We want to win now, even if we have nothing to fight for. That is playing a professional sport. That is a professional franchise. That is a professional franchise and a professional league. The NFL is miles ahead of the NBA in terms of their production, both on the field and off the field, on break, not on break. The NFL is miles above the NBA. Is it as popular as the NBA? No, it's more popular than the NBA. Can the NBA overtake the NFL in popularity? Probably in North America, yeah, or probably in the United States, sure. It's not going to happen now. It's definitely not happening now. The NBA has been fucked for a long time, and that's the case. That's the argument there. I don't need to say much else because I've kind of given all that I really care to offer there. So take it with what you will. This is my side. Thanks for sitting in with me. The Hardy Complex back in 60.